Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coleman Report Live, April 9th edition. My name is Joseph Coleman. I'm usually producer of the show, but today I'm on camera. Today we have John Riosti, the American banker reporter, and our editor, Katie Witsucky. We have a ton of news today. SBA sent a deluge of information and really good stuff. And first off, though, let's start with John. What happened? Give us some insight into your reporting on the gateway and how the portal was actually opened up to the industry.
Well, the portal, I think, it went online yesterday. So what they'd like to do is sort of direct it to new users, and by that I mean the banks, the credit unions, and ultimately the fintechs that come on that don't have a long background with SBA, and they'd like the existing users to just access the system the way they've always done in the past. I fear the problem might be the fact that so far this is just simply a streamlined gateway. That's the term that I've seen used the most. That should help the non-users access the PPP in a little bit easier fashion because it's set up specifically for PPP, and it won't have the sort of legacy SBA aspects to it, legacy 7A aspects to it, regular 7A. But ultimately, the engine is still the E-Trans system, and I guess my understanding is just from a few minutes ago, talking to a banker, is it is still problematic. It is still up and down. It is still taking an inordinately long time to upload individual loans, and that seems to be from the people I've talked to today, and I've been on the phone a lot this morning. Their big bottleneck now that a lot of the other program issues have been settled or are close to being settled. It's now the technical issues that I think are harder for everyone to deal with, or SBA to deal with.
Right.
But that might all be dated given the information that came out today, mainly about the added liquidity. And I don't know if I can if we can get into that a little bit, because
talk to us about what the Fed did this morning with the.
Well, they did a lot, as you know, the $2.3 billion sort of in liquidity, but a significant slice of that was aimed at PPP in the form of additional liquidity for borrowers. And they, in their announcement, their public announcement, didn't have a lot of information. Just had very broad information, but we've been able to sort of ferret out the outline. A lot of your listeners might know a little bit more, but just in general, the borrowers will be able to come and use their PPP loans, the loans that they've already made, as collateral to get additional liquidity in the form of a very low interest rate loan. And the interest rate I heard of is 0.25 percentage point. And then they can, using payouts from SBA down the road, they can apply that to the money they borrow now. What it of course does is it slices the their interest profits, their interest income from these a little bit, but that's never been the big incentive anyway. I guess the key news is it's however bulky it is, it gives banks that are bumping up against just their internal limits and the capacity of their capital. It just gives them more ability to make PPP loans if they so choose. And the ones I've talked to, the two that I talked to just hanging up just minutes before we got on, and I apologize for that again, Joseph, but they're excited by it. They think it's a good step. They in broad terms, the fact that the government is coming and giving making more liquidity available just they're very heartened by it because as many of the loans as they've done, and they both committed, well in excess of $1 billion. These are relatively large banks, one in the Midwest and based in Illinois and actually in Iowa, and one in Virginia. They haven't reached the limits of their customer bases, so they're very excited that the potential exists now for them to serve more customers. But it'd be great to know what your banks feel about it, your lenders.
One last question, and then we can go to the poll. Do you have any statistics on what the SBA volume looks like with the PPP loans?
Yes, I do. I just got it. This is as of 9 a.m. 9
there we
a.m.
go.
from
Breaking
SBA.
news.
$118 billion
Great.
in volume, and that's up from 100 as of late last night. So, in the span of a couple hours, $18 billion. And I believe the loan number now is 374,000 of the loans. And the number that was interesting to me, they also gave me the number of participating lenders. That's now up to 3,800.
Wow. Well, Michael, you can run the poll. We're going to run the poll question. If you want to stick around, John, we'd love to have you, but I know you are busy. We're going to ask how many loans have been successfully submitted through E-Tran. Mike, if you can launch, and we can
One thing I'd like to stay on just a second, Joseph, because I just want to verify. I know I gave you the right number in terms of dollar volume, but I want to verify the number of loans because I had stepped away from my computer, and I just want to make sure I think it's actually a little bit higher in terms of the actual number of loans.
All right. So there's results mainly between 1 and 200. We have 17% said they're 200 to 500 successful through E-Tran, and 8% have over 500 loans submitted, which is fantastic.
Well, I'm glad to see that bond number is going up. That over 500 number is definitely going up from what we've been hearing. So I'm glad there's a lot more getting out there.
And for the 9% that say zero, we have so much stuff to cover. We have guidance that came out, FAQs that came out. John is hinting that that Amazon was able to fix a bunch of the technical services, and it seems like they're fixing that hourly, right, John?
Yes. Yeah, they're still working. Yesterday, I guess the best way to say the announcement yesterday with the gateway is a start. And I do want to correct myself. I said 354,000 applications. It's 454,000.
Wow.
So I apologize for that.
Can you?
But the other numbers are correct.
Mike, can you go to the slide on the disbursement for the 10 calendar days? It used to be 5, and they pushed that back to 10. What do you think about that, John?
I think they are beginning to reflect the new normal now that more and more lenders are coming on. They're just not able to do it. It's interesting because that reflects the conversation over the weekend I had with the banker when I talked to him. They made a number of loans. They were sort of a very early adapter in this, and they were planning to get the funding out on the loans that they had approved between 7 to 10 days. But 2 days later, when I just followed up to make sure I understood everything correctly, they had pushed that back, saying, as their volume increases, it might have to be a little bit a longer dispersal time. And I guess that's what's happening with the program. The volume, the numbers are beginning to grow really into the unprecedented stage, and they're having a little bit of trouble keeping up. But still, at 10 days, that would be tremendous.
Well, the agency is managing through FAQ. They're saying that the government will not challenge lender PPP actions that conform to this guidance. The guidance is attached. It's a 20-point FAQ. And have you gone through those, John? I know that the last 2 are about the dates being pushed, but everything else is pretty well clear laid out. Just to just a historical perspective, it's amazing that last week, Thursday, when we spoke with you, we didn't even have the full interim final rule. So they've done this in 7 days.
No, they've done it in 7 days, and when they say, the point that I wanted to make is, you just mentioned that they're not going to challenge any PPP actions that are sort of in general conformance with those. Is all of the decisions they're making seem to fall on the side of a very liberal interpretation, and the latest one, even though this is now a day old, is the note issue, which was a big issue for so many borrowers. And then I don't know why it took them so long, but they just ended up coming out and saying, individual lending institutions can use their own notes if they choose.
Yeah.
So
we've attached SBA Form 147, the SBA note, as well as along with the handouts. Let's go, Mike, to the procedural notice on the 4506 tax. There's incredible news today, John. The 5000-216 changes to the 4506T tax transcript verification during the COVID. They've cleaned this up as well. Have you read this? Did you see this?
no, that I haven't read.
Okay.
I've been focusing on the Treasury facility. And you may have noted this also, but today or it may have been late yesterday, the fintech borrowers, have the application they need to join the program. So
Right.
it's brand new information, or not brand new, but it's very recent. But I would imagine within a number of days they're going to begin lending, and I know some of them have opened their queues, so they're now at least taking the applications, which they hadn't been doing. But Cabbage, Funding Circle, big names like that will soon be part of this program.
Wow. Mike, you can go to the next slide. Another procedural notice on the implementation of the microloans was also included. What we did, because there was so much this morning, is I just included every link to you guys. You can download it all, digest it, read John's article. It's fantastic. And we just wanted to present all the information as current as we have, and this is what we got. So I think we're going to hold questions. We're going to read this and analyze it. It came out in the last hour or two, and we'll have a great show tomorrow. Katie, do you have anything to add on what all this is going on?
I'm still kind of going through all these procedural notices. I kind of looked through the tax one this morning, and it looks like what they're wanting for that is they want you to go ahead and close and disperse the loans and then follow up with the IRS and get those documents later. And I haven't had a chance to look through the microloan information yet. That's going to be regarding the debt relief. And they're telling us that we will have a separate procedural notice for 7A and 504 probably later today or later this week.
And Mike, you can go to the next slide. These are all the handouts that, so we have a ton of stuff for you guys. Download it and read it. Send your questions to me, and I'll get them up to Lance and Bob and John. And we are changing this title of this webinar. Can't be locked down, so it's going to be the $600 billion in stimulus funds. We're doing our webinar next week. And John, it's insane to think about, but 30 days ago we were excited about 50 billion, and now it's up to 600 billion in relief for small business.
And that might not be all, because I was just talking as the borrowers who haven't gotten their money yet and feel they're being left out as they make their voices heard to their political representatives, to the media and more, that will just spur cries for more money. So $600 billion might not be the end of things, even though it's an enormous sum.
Yeah. Well, again, a ton of questions. Lance will be back tomorrow. He's working feverishly on this stuff. He's trying to get as many in as possible. we will be in contact with you about more information as it comes up to date. But John, we really appreciate you being on the show today. We love your insight, and hopefully we can talk to you next week, and who knows what's going to be talked about next week. So
yeah, well, I wish it were smoother than it was, but I'm glad I could help.
Great. Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
All right.
And for that, Katie, have a good day, and send your questions, and we'll get them to the appropriate people. And with that, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Have a good day.